my plan to be a nurse. I had a small son. I had a son coming out of high school. And so I figured, being a nurse was something I always talked about doing. It wasn't my plan until I got pregnant. But anyway, the bottom line is I knew that I could serve in that capacity. And as they always say, you can always have a job and you'll always be working. And that being said, unfortunately, while I was in Germany, I couldn't finish my degree. I couldn't finish. When I got to Arizona, you would have thought, okay, I'm back in the States. I can go ahead and get my nursing degree and finish up and blah, blah, blah. And so that didn't happen. Actually, it's like, I guess God kind of had prepared a place for us to operate, because even then in Arizona, and traveling to train and get my degree, I still was not able to enter into the nursing field. I actually finished up in occupational therapy, which actually for me is a better fit because I get to pour into people more. And so once we finished up here, we decided, we actually thought we were passing through the Gulf Coast. So that was our plan 20-something years ago, that we were going to come home, visit, and then actually, keep going to Florida. Well, 20-something years later, we're still here. But that being said, working in the occupational therapy field, we were approached because my husband and I both had worked as nursing assistants previously, and kind of enhanced our ability as therapists to do our job even better. And so we actually were approached by one of the clients in the facility to take care of her husband. And she loved the way my husband was working with him with therapy and stuff like that, because we're both have a degree in occupational therapy. So anyway, bottom line, she offered us a price which was probably pretty good for nursing assistants back then, 10 an hour, but I was making far more money than that. So being polite, we were just like, yeah, we can't do that right now. Well, a few months later, literally a few months later, God had another plan. And so we actually on our job were, there was a shift occurring, and you could see it happening, but you just, you couldn't time it. So at that time we were offered to become employees versus contractors, and we didn't want to do that. And so we actually left that job. And then after starting the business, we actually started doing staffing versus home care first. And during that process, the whole nation was pink slipped in the therapy field. I mean, from physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, nobody could find a job unless they were actually picked. They were one of the few selects that were picked up. So my husband and I were talking and having a conversation, and we talked to each other. And we're like, okay, what are we going to do? And so anyway, we decided, hey, we're going to go in this field. We're going to serve people at home, which we knew would help keep people at home, and we could actually use our skills better by serving people at home. And so we've been doing it for over 23 years in the home care, PR and home care here on the Gulf Coast, serving all the counties down here in the lower counties. And we really feel like, and through that process, I have just done different things. We have done different things to serve people. We actually had a conference called RIGHT, Resource Information and Planning for the Elderly. We did a resource guide for the elderly and disabled. I've done a TV show as well from that. So I've done many things because when you're out and about, you learn if you're developing in your business, you're staying aware of what's occurring, what's the mood in your market. And for me, I could see that this is where everything was changing. even as I entered into occupational therapy, I could see that the way home health is operating now, that was already projected 20 years ago. What we're doing now has been projected over 20 years. Arizona and Florida are at least 10, 20 years ahead of us in care for the elderly. Absolutely. And so being in Arizona actually assisted me in seeing, all these complexes that you're seeing in Mississippi come up now. When I was in Arizona, that was the thing. People were living in these $250,000 apartments. And because they knew they needed assistance, but they still wanted their own place. Yeah. And now we're catching up here. So it's I think just living abroad, being in other communities and seeing how other people are progressing kind of helped me to see where we are right now. So, yeah.
Well, that's a whole lot. I'll start with, I was going to make a joke about Mississippi being a lot like Florida, but you kind of ruined that. But no, the Gulf Coast is a place where a lot of things settle once they retired for a number of reasons. And but we do, like Florida, have water. We have a beach. We do have Highway 90, you can get on that and go almost anywhere. It's the scenic route, but Interstate 10's right behind it. So it does afford, and there's a lot of medical, services available to seniors there. My parents, for example, are senior citizens in their mid to late 70s. And so my brothers and I have been discussing with them even what their next move is. And you're right. My dad has been talking about an apartment a lot lately, but we're not quite ready for that. And so we're like, wait, leave home? This is home. This is where we grew up. So, we'll have to explore that some more. And I may have to get some information from you, some pointers from you for them to share with them. But, I wanted to say about you all even starting a business, and you and I kind of have gone back and forth through email and on the phone about business. Starting a business takes a lot of work. And it really, for what some people don't get, but a lot of people do, is that you're solving a problem. So you all saw that there was a problem and you found a solution to it with PRN healthcare, home care. And so obviously you guys have managed to be really successful with that. Like I've said, I actually have worked in a home care company before, actually with Willie Jones. So years ago. And it really opened my eyes to just, Mississippi is considered a rural state. And it really opened my eyes to how much of a need there is for the services that you provide. And so we know now, fast forwarding, those services are still very much needed, and caregiving is a really big deal now. Even long-term care for people, it has become a really big deal. Now we're living in this climate with COVID-19. I guess one of my questions is, how are your caregivers and loved ones managing in this climate, this new, a lot of people are calling it our new norm? How are y'all managing right now?
Well, first of all, our care is mostly one-on-one. And so, unfortunately for the facilities that we did have people that we were serving in, that's all on hold because state mandates that you cannot have people coming in and out of the facility. And I do have to say, initially, I was very frustrated with that because the problem with people being in a facility is that they're getting group care. They're not getting individual care. So when they have somebody interacting and checking on them, their level of care is higher, and then their alertness is better. When you're not having interaction with the outside, the alertness of the mind goes down. It's just like the failure to thrive that you talk about in early childhood. You'll see this in adults, and then just the lack of sunlight, and all that stuff impacts the senior citizens, the elderly that are in these facilities, and it's really starting to show. You're really starting to see people, for the ones that do have people in these facilities, their memory is getting worse, and it's unfortunately, but unfortunately with all the COVID stuff, it's catch-22, so to speak. You lose by not having interaction, and you lose if you were to let people in. So it's really kind of broken in a way. The system, we've been very fortunate. We haven't had any big outbreaks. I'm going to say big outbreaks, as there are some that have some COVID cases. But the reality is this: we have to come up with a better system nationwide, worldwide, so that these seniors aren't lost in a facility, because they, the sense was that COVID was going to let up and people will be able to interact anymore, and you're not seeing that. So what are we going to do? Go through 2021 before we can really see, touch, and feel our loved ones? It's insanity. So that being said, for my people going into the homes of people, it's allowing that person not to be out in the public, going to the grocery store, exposing themselves more. We serve a lot of veterans, and so a lot of them are not able to get out and about. So we have our caregivers going in and using the protective precautions, but at the same time, making sure that they're getting what they need, that they're getting to the hospital, that they're getting the things that they need from the store or their doctor's appointment, helping them keep their house clean. I mean, we have some veterans that are really, they're really sick. They have a lot of health issues, diabetes, chronic heart failure, all those type of things. So our caregivers, really, for some of them, are just kind of like a lifesaver, so to speak. And then for the ones that where we're providing private care, it allows the caregiver to go to work and not worry that mom might be home on the floor, because that happens. It happens. So I had to put a caregiver for my mom because she literally was on the floor. She needed a pacemaker. So that being said, in that situation, it really has allowed the caregivers to keep their people at home. And to be honest, Teresa, I really feel like some people are going to start bringing their people home from facilities, because we're really looking at 2021 before the interaction in the facilities pick back up again, where you can actually go. Now, I do have to say, for those that don't know, there are some facilities allowing window visits and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad they have started doing that, because it really is not good for these people not to interact. I talked to a case manager at the hospital, and we were talking about her situation with her aunt that's in Louisiana. And she said, I before COVID, I was going every week to see my aunt. Now I can't even see her. And when I talk to her now, she doesn't even know who I am, where she did before. So you can see how this short amount of time has already caused people to have issues, So it's, but we serve our people. We make sure that they're taken care of, call and check on them, make sure the caregivers are doing what they are supposed to do. But, we have some dedicated caregivers they're troopers. So we're thankful for that.
Absolutely. You speak about, the need for the families to see and interact with their loved ones. You're absolutely correct. I had a friend who's one of our actually, she's one of our members. Her and I spent some time together because we used to, or we still do lunch and learn. And her and I have worked together on that. And she, her, what she did every day or every morning was go see her mother before going to work. And now she used to spend that time with her one-on-one, and now she's only can speak to her through the window, or now even some people I've heard have iPads so they can do FaceTime interaction with their family. But it's not that touch, it's not that feel, and that just means so much, I imagine, to a lot of our seniors and disabled persons, to be able to connect with not just the people in the facility, but their loved ones, those who can really love on them and show them that type of attention that they can't necessarily get inside. And so you're right. There's going to have to be some changes and some things done to improve that process. And I hope it's sooner than later. I was looking at something on Facebook. A video popped up, and it was with the World Health Organization, and the guy was talking about schools opening back up, and he was like, we can't just focus on that 1 week, and we can't focus on long care facilities next week, and then we're talking about this other thing on the next week. He was like, we really have to do it all together, and it made so much sense. He said, when we take care of the community, all the other things will work out. The schools will work out. The long-term care facilities will work out if we take care of the people in the community, because those people are the ones who are coming into the schools. They're coming into these long care facilities. The community is. And so we need to make sure that we're doing all we can, because it has a domino effect. And so it really, I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. And so I was just thinking about how, even having this conversation with you today, what are some of the challenges that CNAs are having, and even some clients are having? Because I know you said you all do one-on-one, y'all go into the homes. Are you seeing challenges there in terms of how business has, I know you talked about the long care facilities or the home care facilities, but how has even the challenges been for your CNAs and even the clients, for those that you go into the homes?
Well, for the industry itself, I know people think okay, it's healthcare, they're fine and everything's fine, nobody's losing their jobs. So let's put out at front, there are people being laid off all over in every industry, including the healthcare industry. The hospitals are laying off. You're going to see another layoff with this increase in COVID, lack of surgeries and things like that. Some of the doctors' offices and all that, you're seeing layoffs and layoffs and layoffs. And this impacts people. And then this one of the physicians, I don't know if he's a physician or not, but there was an authority figure that talked about how the mind is being, there's a COVID mind, there's a word that they're talking about, because people are just feeling so under pressure from all of the talk of COVID, the uncertainty, really and truly, you went from COVID is going to let up in the summer, and now the summer is worse than it was. And, it's like the mindset you have to, as a business owner, I have to keep encouraging my people, and some of them have had to take, and call and said, hey, I'm going to have to take off a few days, and I'm thinking, okay, so for me, it's like, we actually do have less pressure on them now, because many of them have children at home that they didn't have at home before. Kids go to school. Well, kids aren't in school. And they're not, and who knows? And it's looking like they're not going to school in the fall. So you have all that, because, our caregivers are a range of age anywhere from 30-something to 50-something. And if they're not taking care of their own kids, they're taking care of their children kids, because now you got to work together to make sure that all of you can work. So we deal with that process as well. Then the others have to be careful that they don't go in and, is this client sick? He's got a cough. Does he have COVID? That's your paranoia comes in.
Absolutely.
And so where it could just be we call it a cardiac cough, where you just have fluid and stuff. But you deal with all from the owner's side. You have to listen to the client, and you have to listen to the caregiver, and you have to figure out how to make it work. So then you have the panic calls, and maybe she shouldn't come this week. So now you got to struggle and find somebody else. And then, like I said, with the facilities, we took a hit because you can't even go into any of them, right? Mm-hmm. You can't even go into them. And then for a while, we couldn't even go into the hospital. A lot of the people that are marketing and talking to hospitals and facilities, it's almost impossible to go in on your regular routine to these facilities. So now you have to streamline, and most of them are not going to let you in at all. Because guess what? We don't know if you got COVID or not. So we're going to control who walks through our building, even if you don't have any sign. Because now we're preaching it's asymptomatic. So that means you could have COVID and not show no signs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And that's a really big one. And I think that's definitely with us now having these rapid tests and antibodies, rapid tests, and people are going to get tested and getting results back in a matter of hours rather than days, are finding out, obviously, just want to be careful. Again, even my parents, I hadn't seen them much since beginning of March. And so even when I went to go visit that one time, I was very reluctant, and even trying to build up to going to see them, not spending time too much outside of my house amongst other people, because I was very fearful of what I could bring to them. Mm-hmm. And so I guess even I can imagine if there was someone having to go see my dad or my mother at their home, how much my brothers and I would worry about that and what that looked like, although knowing that our parents need that certain type of care that's being offered to them. These are some challenges, and I know you all are going to figure it out, and I hope our administration do a better job of even informing us and not making it so fearful. When you talk about the mindset, I was looking at another Facebook video of a lady who was recovering from COVID-19, and she was talking to her pastor. He was interviewing her, and she was like, it really affects your mind. She said, everything, you don't even want to be around people anymore. You don't even want to go places anymore because you think somebody's going to impact your immune system. And, she's like, so you really have to talk to yourself like no other. She's like, it's one thing to be encouraging yourself, but now when you have gone through this and the devastating effects of it, you want to do all you can to not just protect yourself, but even protect others. So she said she wouldn't let anyone in her house, and she started being paranoid about going to sleep because she felt like her breathing was going to be impacted. So it's so many other things that have come with this, and I guess I can call it trauma, that we are going to be seeing a long-term effect for, and maybe even create a new service for you with servicing those persons. But it just, really unfortunate. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about just that, because there's so many other things to you and so many other great things that you're doing to impact the community and the lives of others, especially women. And I'm really excited that you reached out, and I was suggested to you to be a part of your Power Up Summit. This is something new. And so can you share a little bit more about how this idea even came about? And then we'll talk about success. So before you go too deep into success, I want you to know we'll get there. I wanted to talk a little bit more about Power Up. I know it's coming up next week. But how did this idea even come up for you? Because before you answer that, I've been a part of so many events, especially involving women. I've planned them. I've been the one that's doing it, like you are hosting it. I've been a speaker at events. And so I'm always excited about seeing these things. You see so many of these things happen outside of Mississippi. And now it's here in Mississippi. You got one that happens in the Delta. I don't know if you've ever gotten a chance to go to Higher Purpose Co. Women's Conference in the Delta. You have got to go. If you've never met Tim Lampkin, you have got to meet him. He is.
Who is it?
Tim Lampkin. I'll connect you.
Send me the info. Yeah.
Yes. I think of myself as a connector. I would definitely connect you all, but and let you see some things he got going on in the Delta. But nevertheless, how did Power Up Summit come about? And then you can even speak to I guess you can even tell us a little bit about how success, because maybe Power Up was birthed from success. But I'll let you share that.
So last year after success, success has gone to where we have over 1,000 people in person. Last year we had over 25 states, over 100 speakers, and we were at the Coliseum. It was great. But for me, I'm always looking for how to connect and service more people and to really pour into them deeper. And so after success, I sat down, and I have rarely just sat down and thought about the next year. What is the next year going to bring for me? And so that being said, I looked at it and I said, I'm going to make sure that success, that I do something different, right? And so thus I was sitting, my book, Trailblazers Who Lead, which there are 29 of us in that book. And I kind of sat down and drafted up some ideas on that, and was pushed. I do have to say I was pushed to go ahead and do it by my project manager, but I did. And so that came from that sitting down and thinking through, and then Power Up. I knew I wanted to do something that was smaller than success, that allowed me to really focus on all these speakers and coaches and authors. I watched them come through, and then these, career women that are trying to, find their way and transitioning. So I watched them, and I'm like, y'all are so focused on one thing. You're a speaker, and that's what you do. You're a coach, and that's what you do. You're an author, and that's what you do. And maybe you're doing two of the three, and you're not really thinking beyond just where you're at. I look at people even now on Facebook and all the social media platforms. I look at some of the things that we really got to think about as a person who is who has a business, who has putting ourselves out front, that we make sure that we are capitalizing on our opportunities. And I feel like a lot of times, just what happened. I was thinking, what would happen to a speaker if they didn't have this income? Because there are a lot of speakers that make their living off of speaking. Now, I didn't know COVID was around the corner, but I was thinking they need to think about creating multiple streams of income. There are so many things that are connected to events, that you should do. Number one, they should all be having their own event, right? Yeah. So that's another thing that came out of it. I started, instead of doing just individual coaching, I started prepping for my group coaching program, because I feel like so many of them don't do it, and the ones that do it, that do have events, I'm listening to them and I'm like, okay, I'm calling 150 a small event, where most of them are saying, Kearn, that's not a small event. I'm like, why isn't it a small event? How big are y'all events? How many people do y'all actually have? And I'm finding that many of them, if they get 50 in the room, that's great. And I'm like, okay, So let's look at what you're not doing and figure out how you need to get that number higher. What are you not doing to do that? So then I was like, well, you know what? I need to teach these people how to power up. Power up, not just their career, their business. I want them to power up their life, their health, their finances, create multiple streams of income. Right now, we're in this time, and I keep telling people this, COVID, and I'm definitely not saying that God created this time, but COVID is a time of opportunity. And we really got to start to see the other side. What can we do? As a speaker right now, most of you are getting hit bad. Coaches are doing business, but I guarantee you they took some hit from this, and authors and, entrepreneurs and particularly the women who are trying to transition. Some people are going to be forced to early retire. Some people need to have a plan in case you're forced to be, out of a job. But we're not thinking like that. So I wanted to create a conference that help and assist in creating opportunity, creating your own business. You don't have a business, you don't have time, create a side hustle. But one thing right now, you need to create something that's on a digital platform right now. You have gifts inside of you. I have one of my authors, and she tells her story. She worked for Delta Airlines for many years, over 15 plus years. And I guess there came a layoff. But before that, she had the house, the car, the black credit cards, a few of them. She's like, I was living the life, right? You on top of the mountain, right? What could go wrong? And then in an instant, it was all gone. And so whether we recognize it or not, then you deal with depression and other things like that. But she started making handmade leather goods. Shout out to Sabrina. She started making handmade leather goods. I asked her, hey, did somebody teach you that? She said, no, taught myself. When I tell you this woman makes purses, handbags. I love the smell of leather, by the way. Handbags, necklaces, shoes, baby shoes, adult shoes. All this came out of the gift that she realized that was inside of her, the talent that God had already put in her from birth. Mm-hmm. It was just a matter of her realizing that she has this talent. And he had to shut the doors to get the talent out of her. Sometimes what we go through is meant to happen so that we would be the testimony for others. As speakers often say, your story is not your story. Your story is somebody else's story, and you're waiting to share it with the public so that person can receive it. But a lot of times we're so busy working a 9 to 5, or we're in this little grind that we're in, and so we're not opening up ourselves up to opportunity. So though many have gone back to work, they still have the time to create their own opportunity. And so what I wanted to do with Power Up is to tap into showing people how you can do that, how you as a speaker can elevate. I also wanted to tap into, sometimes people don't look the part, right? When you're a speaker, whether you're online or in person, you still need to come ready. You still need to have your face on, you still need to have your clothes on, your hair done, and you need to be prepared. You have to be prepared. No telling who's watching you. Maybe you're just on networking. So you are on networking. You still need to be prepared. Yeah. You know, people say looks don't matter. Yes, it does. It really does. And I'm not talking about, you know, skin color, how you look as a person, but I'm talking about how you present yourself, how you allow people to perceive who you are. And that's all about presentation. So so that was another thing. Now, of course, Power Up started in New Orleans. That's where we originally were supposed to go. And so that was supposed to be in May, had to change. Moved it to the coast, had another facility set up. Another date, that had to change. Moved it again. We're at another facility at the Biloxi Civic Center. And guess what? As of last week, we were told we have to go virtual. So Power Up is now for general admission. It's free to the public, but I'm encouraging people. We have an elite ticket, and that elite ticket is an elite online ticket now, since we're not in person. But the experience that you're going to get from being a part of that elite experience is training, mastermind training by myself and Ty Miles, because I personally believe that how to create, doing profitable events, it's going to make you money and it's going to get you seen, you know, and you need to learn that right now. I don't care if you are an event planner or a speaker, coach, a woman who's thinking about transitioning, or somebody that just understands that it is time to increase your visibility. One of the easy way to do that is to put on an event. It can be a small event, but at the end of the day, what I tell people is, whatever you do, you don't want to just have a big party. You want to make sure that on the other side, that you're in the black. And hopefully you made some money from it. Well, so that, go ahead.
There's so many things you've said, and I've been trying to keep notes. But you started out kind of encouraging women to power up and telling us what that was about and how it came about. And some of the things you said was, you know, it's time for women. Because is this primarily for women, or is this for women and men?
Well, Power Up was started for both men and women, but as you often know, women tend to respond quicker than men. So hopefully over the years, we'll get more men interacting inside of it as well.
Absolutely. You started out talking about, you know, this is a time for even new business to be created. And this pandemic really has presented opportunities for women to start businesses. I know a couple women who've started businesses during this time, who've been using this time to really strategize about what their next step was going to be. And you talked about planning too. You know, back when I started my first business, which was online boutique back in 2006, called Red August, I knew I wanted my own thing, and unfortunately, I was laid off from that job, and so I was forced to have to do my business full time. It started out as a part-time hustle, and I needed to devote more full-time effort to it to get the full-time results from it. And so it really just, at the time, I didn't see it as this grand thing, because I hadn't planned for it. But I do tell women now that, you know, if they have some desire and have started a side hustle and have a desire to do it full time, try to establish a plan of exit, and then don't let them, one, get rid of you, or you just up and leave all of a sudden. Definitely have a plan of action, because business go up and business go down. We all know that. We've all had roller coaster rides with our businesses as full-time entrepreneurs, and so you want to be definitely prepared for that, especially if you have other people to take care of and consider. But you know, like I said, a lot of us have had to be creative. You talked about there was something you said that I wrote down, let your light shine. And I guess it's almost as like someone's giving a testimony of some sort about starting their business. And it made me think of a poem that I love. My bio starts off talking about it, actually, about the light within us and that we all have a light within. And when we let our light shine, it gives other people permission to let theirs shine. And so you talk about Power Up Summit and it being where women can come and gather water to take back to their homes, to take back to their businesses, or even women and men, to take back to their homes, their businesses, their churches, wherever, and really let that water grow and fertilize and saturate that whatever seed that's been planted, that they may even gotten there, or the seed is planted long ago and they've just been holding out. And so this gives them permission to do so. I thought of that. It was something that you said made me think of that. And then another big thing that you said was presenting ourselves, how we present ourselves, because you never know. I try to talk to my 22-year-old nephew about this all the time, about it matters how you present yourself. You can even and I talk to young people about this all the time, because I think they think even a small trip to Walmart is just a trip to Walmart. But you never know who you may run into. Or you may have interviewed with the day before and they see you with your clothes hanging off you or a bonnet on or something like that. They may think that you may be out there representing their company looking like that as well. So, how you present yourself really matters, and you never know who is watching. I've had people say things to me that I didn't even know they knew me, and they may have been complimenting me on something I had on. And I'm not saying you always got to walk around looking like you're going to a job interview. I'm saying just even your attitude, looking like your own purpose, walking like your own purpose. Really, people take notice to things like that. And that's something we have to be mindful of. I wanted you to talk a little bit more about Success. The Success Women's Conference was about 3 years old? 3 years? Was this the third year?
This is actually our 6th year.
Sixth year.
We're in the 6th year. Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I think I started following it maybe about 3 years ago.
You're right.
It has really grown, even in the last 3 years. I can't imagine what happened the first 3 years and how you see it now. I know you said you guys have had to pivot with having an in-person conference, and it's had over 1,000 attendees. And I've heard great things. Last year, something happened. I had every intent to be there, and I definitely was going this year. And I've already registered for it this year with the virtual. But and I know Tracy Daniels. I want to give her a big shout out. She's been working with you all as well. But tell us, earlier I said about how these women conferences have been happening out of state. And now to see this happening on the Gulf Coast, and it's really, it's not just a one-day thing. It's several days. Like you said, over 100 speakers. What need did you see for women to that you wanted to put on an event like this? I know you talked about wanting to just showcase yourself and all of that, but some women don't want to create events. Let's be real. Some women want to be a part of them. And use that platform to elevate themselves. But what did you see a need for that you thought, let's give this a try? And what has that been like for you and your co-founder?
So actually, up until the point when we started Success, I would say about 10 plus years, women walked around talking about we need a conference. And so and I had already been planning conferences. I've been doing it now for over about 15 years or so. But that was just always, we need to be a part. We need a conference. Mm-hmm. Yes, we had events and women meetings and all that kind of stuff, but people needed something more. And you could tell that they were looking for stuff. So I was sitting in one of my brainstorm meetings with Dorothy, my partner, and she was always, I was working with her on my branding stuff. And so again, the conversation comes up again. Women are looking for a conference. They're looking for something. they're looking for more than just another event. We can always go to events and connect and all that stuff. But how do you get something that makes you want to do something more? And so her and I were looking at each other, and she was like, well, Kearn, why don't we just do it? I'm like, okay, yeah, let's just do it.
Well, let me stop you right there, Kearn, because, it's so important who you surround yourself with.
Yes.
Because she could have easily talked you out of that. She could have said, no, that'll never work. But she was someone that was encouraging. So, having a good support system, and not everybody has that, and not everybody will. But having that one friend or relative or whoever, church member, to really pour into you and support your ideas and your dreams and say, hey, let's do it, and push you like that is really big. And so I imagine you sharing that story, that could spin off into a whole nother interview about you having that type of support system, even with your friends or business partner or someone who was helping you with your business.
Right. Yeah. And we both saw, because she's over, Dorothy has her magazine, Gulf Coast Woman. And so you could see from the women, from both sides, we knew that this was something that was really needed. And so that being said, we both just saw we could do this. Now, why we thought we could pull off this machine in 6 to 9 months, I don't know. But like I said, I had done several events before with a very small group of people, and normally averaging, I think you're right, we averaged over 600 people. Bless Girls Rock, we were averaging over 450 people. And so for me, it was another conference. And so that being said, the first year we had over 540 plus people at the first Success Women's Conference.
Oh, and wow. That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
exactly.
Well, let me ask you this while you were talking about that first year. I actually just wrote that down as a question. Were you profitable the first year? Because a lot of women get started and they really have this great idea, and they, in their mind, they think that they're going to make this money, or that it's not going to take much money but you're going to have to put some skin in the game. No doubt about it. And even if you're unsuccessful in terms of profit, it may not always be the driving force to why you're doing it. Some women aren't doing it to make money, although that's a great thing. And you want to definitely, like you said, at least break even or end up in the black. Were you profitable the first year? Because I mean, you're going into your 6th year, and you have to. I imagine even to get the sponsors that you get now, they weren't always there on the front end.
No.
You had to show yourself worthy of their sponsorship.
Exactly.
And so were you profitable the first year? And if not, what made y'all come back? I guess 540 people show up or register.
That was a good plus for me. Yeah, we were not we didn't make a whole lot of money. And this is one reason why I teach on creating profitable events, because the problem that I see with most people is that what you don't know affects your ability to make the money from the conferences, from the events, things like that. And so the first year we were okay. The second year we did a lot better. And then we moved on from there. Last year was a good year as far as me raising funds. I think I raised over 60,000+. But at the same time, you can raise all the money in the world. If you don't budget, spend it, and plan it right, you're going to take a hit. So it's important that you have, number one, you got to have a plan. Most people don't have a plan. Most people don't have the right people on the team. Most people don't create other streams of revenue inside the event. There are many ways to produce an event and make money from the event by creating those streams of revenues. People think, well, the tickets I'm going to make a lot of money off of tickets. I have never put my invested money into the ticket side. That's why a lot of people, when they attend my event, she sure give away a lot of tickets. Well, one, that's not where your money is made from. It's not.
Wow.
Your money is made from the streams of revenue. Now, tickets is a stream of revenue, but that's where it shouldn't be your number one.
Right.
It should not be your number one. It's a priority, and you have to plan it right. And that's why I often tell people, sometimes you just need to invest in yourself, hire the person that can help you get there and to be successful and to keep you from making the same pitfalls that I've already made. Right?
Let me write that down.
So I'm just saying, you really need to consider. And that's the other reason why one of the things we added last to success was coaching, because we realized at least for on the coast, a lot of people are not in touch with hiring a coach. A coach can save you a lot of time and money. Okay? And so that's why I tell people, look at where your weak spots are. And so we introduced last year at Success 12 different coaches. And I can tell you, several people left with not just one coach, but two coaches, because there's a coach for everything. Just because I just say I coach in event planning, somebody else may coach on the life side of things. Some other people specialize in teaching people how to speak, develop your speaking platform. So those things are important. And it's one of the things that we saw at Success last year that allowed us to pour into people more. So yes, Success is going virtual this year. We hope to hit the international market is the plan as far as that's concerned, to see more people from that end involved, because we feel like there are people all over the world that need what we're bringing to the table. And yes, we're bringing in more male speakers because, look, men need women. We need each other. And in order to develop as a whole person, you got to have both. So Power Up Summit is next week. Starts off, we kick off with a small book signing for Trailblazers Who Lead, which is led by none other than Gloria Mayfield Banks, Sherwood Elevation Entourage, and Teresa Royal Brown, and several of my other co-authors that are a part of it. And trust me, these women are doing things in their lives, and they're showing you how they were able to take a negative and now turn it into a positive. They're showing you how they were able to operate and go beyond where they're at. And some of the things they're doing are amazing. And then the next 3 days, we'll have the conference, people like you, Teresa, who will be sharing and speaking and pouring into people. The goal is to power you up. If you don't get anything else from this conference, we are encouraging you to power up your life. Do something different. Turn COVID on its head. Take that leap. If you're thinking about starting a business, just do it. I'm using the Nike phrase. Just do it. Stop waiting. Success is not going to be given to you. You have to take success, right? You have to walk in the opportunities. And then you have to create your own. Instead of waiting for an opportunity, a lot of times you knock on the door, that door isn't opening. And you try another one, it still ain't open. You go around the back, you're like, oh my goodness, please let me in. Stop waiting for somebody else. Either kick that door down or create your own. And I'm encouraging people from this conference, create your own. It's your time. The time is now. Not tomorrow. The time is now. Success will be in October. This year, you'll see the dates start to roll out. We are still taking nominations, y'all. Top influencers from around the nation. We're taking top influencers. Nominate your friend, your girlfriend, your co-worker, yourself. We need your nomination. And we're closing that up really soon, I think this week. So nominate somebody. Go to successconference.info, successconference.info. And for Power Up, go get your free ticket, powerupconference.info. And look at the elite ticket, y'all. That mastermind is private. It's a private training with Ty Miles, the branding specialist, teaching you how to monetize this opportunity right now, along with me. And I'll be teaching, and I'm going to be doing more than dropping nuggets on how to create your own profitable event. So check those out. We look forward to you joining us at both of those events.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and sharing the information. I was going to ask you how can people register? I will drop that on our Facebook page and share that as well. It has been a pleasure speaking with you today, Ms. Kearn, Sherry. You have shared a lot of great information. I really applaud what you all are doing on the Gulf Coast and even throughout the Gulf Coast region. Is anyone that knows, the Gulf Coast really easily spills over into Louisiana and Alabama and Florida. And so I really thank you all for what y'all are doing. I'm really proud of what you all are doing. And I'm very honored to be a part of the Power Up Summit. We're going to be sharing more of that information. I know Women for Progress is going to be sending out another e-blast to help get more people registered for it. It would be wonderful if you can get an international crowd, 1,000 people registered for this, tuning in for these several days of great information that's going to be shared. It is the time to power up. It really is. This is not the time to lay down or just sit by the wayside. This is the time for us all to power up in every area of our lives. I just want to, again, thank you so much for joining us. Before I go, I do have one announcement. The Women for Progress virtual celebration will be happening on July 19th at 4 p.m. on Facebook. So you can check it out on our Facebook Live page. Also, it'll be available on the womenforprogressradio.com. So please check that out. We want everyone to join us in this celebration. We're just celebrating a lot of different things. One I know is our anniversary. We usually do that every summer. And so, again, thank you for joining us. I'll share that information on the Women for Progress Facebook page and on the Facebook Women for Progress Facebook group. I had to slow down. I think fast and I talk. Thank you all so much for joining us on the Working Woman Report. I am Teresa Kennedy, and I am signing off. Thank you.